Before the general election, I had a statement in the House on the Great Repeal Bill white paper, and in presenting it to the House I said, look, I have tried to ensure that no rights are removed in this process, that we actually ensure that everybody's still got the rights that they had before. But if I'm not right about it, if I've made a mistake on that, I have missed something, and Keir Starmer, who's a lawyer, finds something, come and tell me and I'll change it. I mean, that's been the
Jeremy
stance.
Corbyn said that's a historic document now. He said it's just not going to happen.
I think we'll have to wait and see on that. I don't think it's a historic document. What does it do? It takes European law and puts it in British law. What is it they're objecting to? Well, what's the problem?
Well, what people are saying, and Ruth Davidson is saying this, and so are the DUP, is that the trajectory on Brexit that was laid out before the election was too hard, to use that phrase. I know you don't like the phrase hard, but it was going too far in terms of turning the back on the single market and on the customs union and on Europe in general. And there is a desire to see a softer, more collegiate, to use one of your favourite phrases,
my favourite
approach towards the European 27.
Yeah. Look, the first thing is, the language used in an election campaign. I mean, I always say hard Brexit is a propaganda term. It is, and of course that's the sort of battle that went on.
We know what we're talking about there, don't we?
I know, but let me just come back to the fundamental points. What are the fundamental points of this? In or out of the single market? Well, yesterday, John McDonnell accepted on air that, if you didn't leave the single market, the British people would wonder what you were doing, because you need to leave the single market in order to take back control of your
border. But they are adjusting their position as well, as you know, within the Labour Party. John McDonnell...
Well, we will see. They've adjusted it 7 times in the last 10 months, and the last adjustment, their manifesto position, was actually very similar to ours. Similarly, we don't do these things because we have some sort of ideological
the manifesto
commitment.
position was not backed by the majority. That's the point. And people are now saying, well, maybe we need to look at other options.
Well,
like Norway, for example.
80% of the public voted for parties that said we're going to respect the decision last year. The ones that said wanted to reverse it or do something different were the ones that got hammered, like the SNP and
the British people voted to leave the European Union. It's the manner, the extent of that leaving.
Of course it's the manner. Of course it's the manner. And what I'm saying is that we don't say we want to leave the single market of itself. It's because it's what the Europeans laid down. They said you cannot stay in a single market and have control of your borders. Fair enough, OK. Similarly, we don't say we want to leave...
But you could explore that, for example. You could go back to the Europeans and say, look, we've seen what's happened, we know where we are. Why don't we look at this freedom of movement?
There's no sign of them changing their position on that.
Well, why not try?
We've been talking to them for 10 months, so I think.
Well, you haven't been talking for 10 months.
Well,
as I understand
we haven't been undertaking negotiations because they said no negotiations without notification. But there's been lots of communication backwards and forwards. I promise you. Both.
So you don't feel that there is a need, because of the message the voters have given you in this election, which is subsequent to the referendum.
My view on this has always been the same, and that is as far as possible, we take as many people with us as possible. The argument, 52-48, we're trying to get a deal which will be good for the 100%, everybody. That's what we're after. And if Keir Starmer, or frankly anybody in the House of Commons, comes to me and says, how about this as a better idea, and it looks like a better idea, I'll take it on board. But it's got to work. That's the point. This is not a piece of political gamesmanship. It's got to work. It's got to actually deliver on what the people asked for, which was control of borders, control of laws, control of money, and it's got to deliver a decent economic outcome and protect security.
But as a result of this election, your hand has been weakened, hasn't it? We kept on hearing about having a strong hand, not revealing your hand. But, we've got...
It's not the outcome I would...
I mean, we've got Mrs May going over to see Macron, who is apparently taking all before him, getting a majority in the French Parliament, and we've got a lamed-up Prime Minister.
Oh, I don't think so. I mean, first thing to say on that is, as I said, 80% voted for the sort of general picture of Brexit that we're talking about. Even in terms of the actual result, I'm not going to dance around it being a great result, but it was nearly 43%, the highest number of votes for some time, actually more than Tony Blair at his strongest. But the rules are the rules.
And Labour's increase was greater.
Yeah, Labour had an increase, and there's no. I won't take away from them. They had a good campaign on all sorts of levels, and they managed to coalesce a lot of the left of centre votes behind them, which previously had gone to the Greens and so on. So that's got to be done. But we have got to come back to your point about the negotiation. The primary aim of a negotiation is not a sort of macho contest. The primary aim is to find an outcome which works for us and works for them, and that is still true.
I mean, some of your colleagues do seem to think it is a macho process.
Well, it isn't. I mean, I'll tell you that now. It isn't. Yeah. It's an intellectual process of trying to find the best outcome for both sides.
Just on, the practicalities. We were told it was going to happen in 10 days, and then it was a matter of weeks. But I mean, what is actually going to happen?
Well,
do you know?
It's in the week of next week, basically, is the first discussions. My Permanent Secretary is actually in Brussels today, talking to them about the details. It may not be on the Monday, because we've also got the Queen's speech that week, sure. and I will have to speak in that and so sure. on. But that's not because of the election.
And what will it actually be? I mean, how's this process going to work?
The first round, well, we're going to have pretty long meetings to roughly 1 week a month, I think, and which is much faster than any previous trade deal they've done, for example. The first bit of it, the most which the Brussels want to do the sort of so-called divorce proceedings first. The first bit of that includes the European citizens in the UK, includes money. They want to talk about that. We think that should come later, and Northern Ireland. The European citizens in the UK, we want to get on with as fast as possible, because we do not want people to be in a state of anxiety. Because
Labour said just make a unilateral gesture.
Well, we've also got to worry about the million or so Brits abroad, and we want to get both of them dealt with quickly.
But have you accepted now the phasing that the European Union have laid down?
No, what we've said is we'll start down this process, but I will have some discussions with Mr. Barnier about how we progress to the wider thing of the trade area. The most important thing, in many ways, in the aggregate, is the trade area.
You were in favour of an early election. So what went wrong?
The campaign went wrong. It didn't work for a variety of reasons. I'm not going to detail all the bits and pieces of it.
The manifesto was rubbish?
No, but one piece of it was a problem. No doubt about that. The social policy, the social care policy, was a mistake.
Well, did you know about it in advance?
No, I didn't. I dealt with my own piece.
I mean, you presented the Prime Minister at the manifesto, but you didn't know that was about to drop.
I had, well, I'd seen it by then, but I had the thing I was mostly dealing with in the previous week or two was my own bit, because bear in mind, from the point of view, one of the issues in the election is that what do you call the Salisbury Convention protection in the Lords, and I had to make sure that we had that for all the components that mattered.
You put yourself forward for the leadership before. If there is a vacancy, would you put yourself forward again?
I told you, it's self-indulgent. I'm not going to undermine the Prime Minister by getting into any conversation like that.
But you're not going to say no?
I'm really not. I'm really not. I'm going to do. I tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to do everything possible to make sure she is entrenched in place and she can deliver. She's a good Prime Minister.
Well, is she?
Yes, she is a good Prime Minister.
Well, surely her judgment is shot to pieces.
I've spent.
Well, I mean,
let me just answer. I've spent 10 months working for her. I've seen many Prime Ministers in the past. I've worked for others in the past. She's very good. She's a good decision maker. She consults widely. She looks at all the evidence. She takes her time. There's no essay crisis about this Prime Minister. She does it properly. And I've had some very difficult decisions for her to make, and she's made them all, in my view, very effectively. And that's the most important thing. Make the decisions to run the country, and I think you'll find in the next few weeks people will say, actually, yeah.
Well, that's a bit like saying Richard Hammond's a great driver as he wakes up in hospital.
No, it's not. It's I'm telling you what my experience is, and I've never been slow to be critical if it's necessary, but I think she's a very good Prime Minister.
David Davis, thank you very much indeed.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.